major faux pas. No, Nick, will let me know. So we're calling the meeting to order at 4:06. This is a special airport commission meeting. First item on the agenda is adopting the agenda. Can I have a motion to do so?
I'll move adoption.
Helen, second.
Second.
Robin, second. Any comments, questions, anything on the agenda need to do? We do have an executive session at the end that we'll go into, but otherwise I think it's pretty self-explanatory. All right, all those in favor of adopting the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have an agenda. Anybody public forum? I don't see anybody. Anybody online? Don't see anybody. All right, we can move on to the consent agenda. I didn't see an employment report. Was that?
No, it's
Okay.
because just 2 weeks ago, we published the employment report for, I think it was November, December.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, that should have been taken off there.
No problem. Anything you want to share about employments?
No, still climbing. We're not back to what we were in 2019. I think we're getting closer to 90% of 2019 numbers. Not there yet. Revenues are really good, and Marie's going to talk about that later. But employments we're climbing.
And is that consistent with other airports around the country?
It is extremely consistent. Actually, I can't remember who I was with, Dave or Larry. I was at a conference recently. Dave. Recently, and we were talking with Baltimore Airport, some of the major airports in the country, and they're all seeing that 75 to 90, low 90% recovery. They're also seeing higher revenue recovery, especially in the parking garage, which is interesting as we see, or rental cars as well. So very, very consistent with the industry. So I believe it's only February, obviously, but I believe this will be a record year for us, a calendar record year for a number of passengers.
There you go. Right. Well, that's all encouraging. We do have to approve the minutes. Can I have a motion or motion to accept the minutes as presented? Thank you. Any comments? All right, all those in favor of adopting the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are adopted. Minutes are approved, I suppose. All right, Airport Commission rules and procedures. We've had this document for quite some time. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to go through it. I feel bad that Tim isn't here to officially preside over the passage of our procedures and rules, because I know he's put a lot of time into it, but I think he'd be happy to know we're acting on it. So why don't we get it on the floor? Does somebody want to make a motion to adopt?
I make a motion to adopt the rules and procedures.
All right.
Planning for the airport commission as presented.
Thank you, Helen. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion, comments, questions about anything? Yeah.
Hallelujah. And this officially makes now, once you approve it tonight, it'll make the first Wednesday of the month the new regular meeting for the commission.
Anything, staff, you guys want to say about it? Meets your needs, everything?
It sure does. I think my biggest request was the movement of the meeting to the first week of the month, which is fantastic, and every other detail that's been shifted from the previous procedures is spot on with what we expected. So this fits nicely from our point of view as well.
Great. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, let's take a vote. All those in favor of approving our airport commission procedures and rules, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations. Good job, Tim. If you're watching this at home at some point. Okay.
Just a quick question. Are we supposed to, or if we don't, did we look to see if we had anybody for public comment, or are we not there yet?
I did I did,
You checked.
I did check. I didn't see it online. Obviously, I don't see anybody here. If somebody does come, I don't mind
Great.
reordering
Okay.
agenda.
And Greg just joined us as well.
Hi, Greg, you hear us?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, we don't see you. I don't know if that's by design or,
No, I'll work on that.
okay.
That should work right there.
There you go.
Weren't you outside last time in some like?
Yeah,
really
I didn't want to
tropical-
bum anyone out this time, so I moved inside.
Does look a
little
tan.
In case you haven't heard, it's 70 and sunny here. in Burlington.
Especially Friday night.
Greg, I don't know if you were on, but we did just formally approve our rules and procedures of the commission. I don't know if there was anything you wanted to add or any questions you had on those. I'll assume you were in support of it. But if you did want to bring up anything, now's a good opportunity.
No, I would just second what Jeff mentioned, thanking Tim for his work and efforts to make that happen.
Great. Okay, great. Second action item is taxiway, a mill and overlay. Do you, the airport is looking for action on this item. Why don't we move it and second it, and then we can have a discussion. You can describe it. We can answer any questions if that's all right. All right, thank you, Helen. Second. All right, thanks, Steve. All right, let's, Larry, you want to? Sure.
So, this is Taxiway. Okay. This is the latest Taxiway golf project that comes down to here, okay? And last year, we came before you, I think in July, and asked for, approval to go to city council, which we received approval, is to mill and overlay from this point here, which you can see at the here, all the way down to about here, okay? However, we designed, and we were gonna apply for a grant all the way down to here and that's what Charlie. However, there was a limitation of federal funding, so we only received the grant last year for down to here. What I'm asking for is the difference, the balance, because we're gonna apply for using entitlement funding this year to complete this project, so we're fully taxiway rehabilitated. So the difference, the cost is the engineering inspection. We had bid the project as a whole, as it had as additive ultimate, or the FAA had said we don't have the funding to give it to all that to you. So I'm asking for that. And then if Tim were here, he'd say, why doesn't the math work on the paper? It is because we had to take out of this, when we designed all this, we paid for the design of this too, but we couldn't apply for the grant last year for the design of that. So that stuck back into this, so we get reimbursed for that. So it's really all I'm asking for is approval to accept the grant or Nick to get this portion. And from a timing standpoint and it being entitlement works well, because we're not starting construction on this year. And by the time we start this project, we can go right into this and we should have a grant by that time, or it's entitlement money where we can spend the money up front and get reimbursed because it's entitlement. Did I get everything?
Yeah, one thing I'll add is just the basic concept of taxiway alpha. You've already approved the grant for, like Larry said, for the majority of it. This is just that one corner. This is one of our main arteries of the airport, especially when we're talking about the commercial service and terminal access points. So very complicated, highly phased. Passengers are going to see this for sure over the summer. And then that corner specifically, the Alpha Charlie corner, which is what we're requesting for tonight, that's also a highly used intersection right there.
I've got one point thing. We're also a shoulder along here, so our guardrails on pavement for ease of plowing and safety. So this is all going to be, there'll be a 20-foot shoulder along here. It ties into that shoulder.
Okay, thanks for that explanation. maybe leave it to the aviation people and
Well,
if you have
so,
specific. questions.
obviously what comes up right away is it is the only way to get commercial traffic to that area. So clearly it will be open at the time, but that does seem to lend itself to a bit of liability with working crews right on the other side of Alpha if you're building that shoulder. Will
Correct.
parts of it be closed during that time? Like
Many,
as you're
many
working,
parts.
like one small section at a time?
You got it,
Okay.
yeah, so one of the things that Dave and Larry helped design was making sure. Specifically that only one terminal gate was impacted as much as we possibly can at any point in the phase project.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, we're literally going to be
You're
telling
losing
the
it.
airlines, you have to shut down this gate.
Yeah.
We can't do that. So the phasing is gonna be in small sections.
Mhm.
We did the same thing for other areas of the airport, like Taxiway. Once we get into this shoulder, every project that we do out on this airfield requires a construction safety and phasing plan, which is reviewed by not only us, but air traffic control, as well as the Federal Aviation Administration Airports Division. And there's snow fencing, there's very, very strict criteria where not only pedestrians, vehicles, construction vehicles, how to get to and from access points and the site itself. The Charlie Alpha intersection will be closed at one point in time.
Please.
Yep, which we've done before successfully. We're gonna have to.
We're gonna have to go all the way down.
Down to Lima and other
Or
areas.
taxi back 19, right? One way.
Taxi back 19 might be closed in certain areas of this construction project as well.
Can you move around on the commercial ramp, like, let's say a E190 without the wing crossing over Alpha? Can you move on the ramp without, you can't, right? Yeah, I didn't think so.
You're talking like, if the 190 was here,
Yeah.
going from here through here.
Yeah.
instead of-
It over, the wing hangs over Alpha all the time, right? Or a piece of it.
I guess I'm not following the question.
You might also have airplanes on those gates.
You can't have.
That's right. So one, we wouldn't be able to use this as a taxi.
You could never, that's what I'm asking, if you can use any piece of that to avoid the.
Shut this down and then use this. I mean, I'm sure there's some ways we'd have to redesign it and restripe it and get approvals from.
But it's not the plan.
It is not the plan, it is to shut down this particular area, so the pushback for this gate would only be this way. Then we'd swap it, so the pushback would be the other way. You know, that's a generalized statement on that particular gate, but essentially every single piece of this will be.
Will every gate be affected at some point?
Every gate south of the,
The corner.
So
maybe.
shared annoyance.
That's
Not just one.
Yeah, it's every airline, everybody's gonna be impacted. The only one that's really not gonna be impacted is American Airlines. But they were highly impacted when we did this phase of the project. So
They get a perk.
yeah, and you know, the airlines are great partners. We'll move them around. We've swapped terminals
Yeah,
before with
yeah.
them. You know, this is a great picture because this was a 10-year project. First project actually was the first phase of the terminal apron. And now it's completed, including this one, and every piece of the terminal apron. The phase approach to the construction.
Now, if 1 and 19 are closed for just weather, right? Like sometimes we get an abundance of ice and snow and they just close 1 and 19 and we just use 1 and 5 and 3 for a few days, right? Can you still taxi on it?
Depends on what Dave and his team
Have done to it?
see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So worst possible circumstance, they've got to go cross runway 1, go all the way down, what's this one, Bravo? Right here.
Actually waiting till late May to early.
Ah, okay. So we still always get 1 and 19 in theory.
These GA posts,
Mhm.
if they're using 3 or 1.5, they'll be able to back taxi.
Gotcha.
On that particular scenario.
But the airlines will have to go around because they can't use 1 and 19.
Or they'll back taxi on that as well.
Oh, they can,
Yeah.
okay,
So use one night as an hour taxiway.
yeah.
In fact, Alpha is too small for FedEx.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they used to, I don't know if they use it as much now.
Well, we don't. Oh, I guess, well,
But this is gonna be this summer.
This will be this summer. We already have the grant for Alpha.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Like Larry said, from this point up here, we already have the grant,
yeah. Mhm.
and we're expecting the grant soon for the remaining portion of what Larry's requested.
Gotcha.
Just for this small portion.
And we're waiting purposely to late May to start, so we have no weather related issues.
Mm.
And this will put us in a really great position. All of that light gray into the dark gray, this is all new. Hilo is 7 years old, Dave, somewhere in there, 7 to 9 years.
Not even,
Yeah. Then you can see all this kind of, see the dark lines in there, that's all crack sealing and whatnot. We completed this portion last year of Charlie with Taxiway, so this is gonna be a nice, coordinated effort to complete just about everything north of there on our taxiways. We're gonna do the same thing for 1533, we'll come back to you, not this summer, next summer, most likely on a construction grant.
Yeah.
It's more complicated, phase.
Don't forget, we finished Q02, which is out there, and the additional bonding.
You can't keep up with posters.
We cannot.
right?
Your posters can't keep up with you.
Not look like this.
TV screen.
Yeah, it's correct. I think that was about 5 or 6 years ago. Kilo,
The old Converse, yeah. So that's, and then this is even older, so this right now is our oldest piece of pavement, right here, everything else is new, this is, coming up in 10 years.
2 years. You said that,
The runway,
yeah, we're gonna do.
sorry, 10 years old.
Oh, okay, whoops, okay, sorry.
The local match portion of this will come PFC.
That is exactly right. In fact, we're running a 7+ year financial plan to outline all of these big projects. Alpha is a relatively small project, relatively. The big projects are the $34 million terminal project, the south expansion, the snow removal equipment building. The runway is going to be a big project. So we want to show you and everybody else there's a healthy financial plan using PFCs, especially for the local share, as well as other funding sources, depending on what the project is. But for this one, yes, PFCs.
So that, we'll see that at subsequent meeting.
Probably summer,
Okay.
yeah, a couple months.
Okay.
Right.
How do you
I think so.
take the runway when you're in?
We have a hard close, we're gonna have a hard closure at midnight of the runway. And an opening of around 5 AM every single day, which means those spaces are very small. The milling will happen in 2 strips. The pavement will happen that same night. The paint will be applied that same night. We'll be ready to open at 5:30 in the morning.
So if JetBlue's late, where do they go?
It will have to do it. Because these are, yeah, it's happened before. These especially, like usually we don't do hard closures. Usually we'll work with the airlines. Like if they're 20 minutes late, we'll keep the runway open just a little bit longer if we have some maintenance.
Because you know. right?
Because we
That's
know.
right. Yeah.
But with a project this size, when we start doing that, the financial repercussions and the time delay on the back end is far worse. So we're
Will they move up their departure time for their last flight to give a little cushion?
They might,
It's pretty hard.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
they just.
And they're already-
Supposed to land.
Till 5 in the
They are
morning?
definitely running late on that.
Running.
Question from Plattsburgh. Pick everybody up.
They go back. They go to Jada.
because they don't have any ground.
No,
support
no
there.
support, nothing. I didn't think they could get them off the plane.
They are.
On the stairs. Anyway.
Lied.
All right, any other comments, questions about this project? Okay, we have a motion in front of us to recommend acceptance of this grant and put to the Board of Finance and the City Council for approval. Everybody ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Passes. Thank you, everybody, for that explanation. Okay, item number 6, audit report. Nick.
I am immediately going to hand it over to the person that spent countless hours on it. And have them read.
Sure.
Hello, I did offer to read the whole thing, but I will spare you. Will not do
No
that.
rush.
I think the important things for me, there's a lot of information in here. And I think the important things for me to convey is that we had no compliance issues. The auditors were very happy with us. There were no findings that they had with the airport or the way that we conduct anything. They do issue a part of this, a PFC review, and make sure that we're recording all of our revenues and expenses correctly. So that's at the very end of this. We performed, I report every month on our revenues and our expenses, and that's pretty much how we ended up the year. We did use some of our stimulus money as part of this, but we ended up the year very well. Our cash position was stronger at the end of the year than it was at the beginning of the year. So all in all, I would say, a very good, successful, healthy financial year for the airport, which is what we always strive to do and take real good care. Not always in our control, all the revenues and everything else, but things are improving. And you can see that if you look at some of the schedules are a little interesting when you look across at the revenues and things like that. So that's the biggest part of what I want to do. We had to implement a new GASB, which affected how we record leases from a financial, if any of you in the financial industry, that was the biggest thing we had to contend with this year. But all in all, and other than that, it's a wrap on the audit. And I just got it last week. So I wanted to share that right. It was perfect timing. And I wanted to share that with all of you. And of course, entertain any and all questions you might have. If you read this cover to cover or have any questions on here, do let me know.
My favorite part to read, although there is a lot of good parts, is the page 52 of 52. Which is no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, both on our regular financial statements and our passenger facility charge program. And that's huge kudos to Marie. Not just in the audit process, but in the whole year.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I will, if you want to look at any part of it, I think the things that I usually will refer people to is what's called our MD&A, it's our management discussion and analysis. And that takes place right after the audit. They give us our audit letter, but then we have, starting on page 4, we have a bunch of pages. And this is like an overview. It's like we're telling what happened, kind of in a summary of what's most important, what happened here at the airport. And so like, you're here at the table, some of you are newer, but it'll give you a good depth of the revenues and what direction that we're going in. So I would suggest, if you want to take a look at anything, that's probably one of the easiest things to look at and get a good sense of the airport.
How often does this come out?
Every year.
So this is the year-end report.
This is yes, we have multiple audits, but this is our financial audit. This audit, when the city has not issued their overall audit yet. When they do, we are listed as a department within there because we are an enterprise fund. So our numbers will be incorporated into the report. We also have a single audit, which is a grant compliance audit, and that will come out. We'll have that by the end of March. So,
And those are done separately from the city.
we are
your
under
report is really-
contract. We have
Or enterprise.
yes.
But the other departments don't do that. That's a. state.
Water and it's a bond requirement. We use the same accounting firm.
Okay.
So they just changed their name. They're signed in Melanson. They got acquired more recently and I think are merged, so they changed their name. But they have a contract that the city bids out and then awards the contract. And we come within that contract.
Okay.
But they come out here separately and take a pretty good look and we put up, make sure that everything is reported.
How much time do you put into this? Like,
A lot.
She's gonna need more than 52 pages.
Yeah, it's with any financial reports, Now, I have to make sure that everything that they want to come and look at, that is available for them. And so there are separate schedules, or there are a lot of things that we have to do that we don't miss for a full accrual accounting. Oh, it's all this accounting jargon we have to do at year end. And we don't necessarily do that every single month because it would be tedious, and I need a staff of 2 more people to do it. So, but we do a full accrual, and that's what we do on the airport. So there's just work to be done with it.
So it's not something that you can do cumulatively during the year. Some
There-
pieces,
Yes,
some pieces you can
of
pull.
course, of
so that
course.
makes it a
You
little
monitor
bit shorter.
Just like I report to you every single month, the revenue and expenses, we're looking at all the time.
Right, right.
We don't just look at that when we get down the year. I don't know, I'll look at it in September. So we do, it's really important that we keep track of everything that is material. There are just maybe additional schedules or other things that I now need to do and provide as documentation.
And you
So
send this
it's
into a auditor?
There's an auditing firm, an accounting firm that a group of CPAs, and they come in and they review everything, and they give us an audit opinion, which is clean, and that's what, we don't have any findings.
52.
That's right. So this is important. You always want that independent eyes taking a look and making sure that your revenues and that your expenses that you're reporting are accurate. I mean, I know the city of South Burlington does that,
But it's an opinion.
it's an
So
opinion.
they won't take responsibility for any mistakes. It's just an opinion.
True, and they sample and all that, but they really do test and take a look at your procedures and everything to ensure
Right.
That
And do you
you're-
have any recommendations for procedure changes?
we do not.
That's good. And those are always good to address.
Right.
Any other questions? Jim, I notice joined on. Good to have you with us.
Sorry for being so late.
No worries. Okay, not hearing any other questions. I don't think we have to take formal action on this, but we'll accept it and put it on file. Just note in the minutes, congratulations, Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you to you for all the time and effort you put into this. I know I think we can all relate just in our own other work settings that this kind of stuff takes a lot of attention to detail, not just in preparation for an audit, but year round. So thank you for all your good work. Okay, thank you. Next item, director's report.
I'm gonna keep it nice and short and just touch base on a couple of topics. Great progress with our north renovation project. This is the removal of the escalators, opening up our north concourse to additional seating, and relocating Hudson News into a new space. Hudson News will actually, in the north concourse only, Hudson will be relocating the night of February 15th to a new temporary location. Temporary might be about a year until they finalize their official new design for their new space. That will eventually come back to you as a contract amendment. They are investing around $500,000 into the airport to open up space and grow here at the airport. Escalators are completely out. The floor is being filled in. There's a giant hole in the floor in the middle of our terminal right now. It's pretty impressive. Everything's being just completely renovated in the old security checkpoint that used to be up there, which will eventually fill in with seating. It does impact this hallway just slightly. We're just opening it up, repainting, redoing a couple things too. We had a meeting with the team and with our consultant on the BTV North Next project, which is the expansion up into the north side of the terminal. We started looking at very preliminary designs and architectural features of what the vision of this building will be. I have a couple of things internally that I want to work out, and then eventually, hopefully this summer, we can start giving you a little bit more feedback of where and what that project will look like into the future. This is the $34 million congressionally directed spending funding that Leahy was instrumental in getting. And we're just kicking off the vision and that'll quickly go into full design.
Can I just ask a question, and I should know this and I don't, for the, what, I can't remember the name of it now, that had cell magazines and stuff, what is it called? The Hudson News, yeah. Do they have a lease or a contract with us for a certain number of years?
They do. I think their lease goes to 2028 or 9, I think, right now. And it's a concession lease. So it's a percentage of their gross revenues that come back to the.
And then is that in 2028, when it comes up and we review it again, is it sort of open to another company that might think, oh, this is an up and coming airport? I think I would like to have a commission, you know.
A store or whatever.
Yeah.
It
does that
would be, if we wanted to produce an RFP or an open process for other entities. My hope is to present an extension of this Hudson News lease in exchange for that investment that Hudson is talking about. There is other opportunities though for concession space and possibly even restaurant space in the future, especially as we start talking about larger areas. I don't think this year is definitely the right time to start doing that. Especially the restaurant.
Poor timing for them, that'd be really mean.
Good timing for them, but the restaurant industry, the news and gift industry is really struggling right now, from labor standpoints to revenue standpoints. So the investment that Hudson is making in the local requirements that we fill on Hudson, they're required in the contract to carry 50% of Vermont-made products to sell. They always do more. That whenever they report, they're always in the 60 to 70% Vermont products are actually sold, which makes sense when you have the product. I think it brands and sells itself. So there's great advantages to having a huge company like that work with us in the investment that they're working on. Right?
Is their footprint growing?
Slightly. It's not going to be too different. They do want more of a traditional store atmosphere versus the open store that they have today. So where they're relocating, that's what they're designing is a kind of a storefront.
So there's no requirement to have an RFP each time. Is that what you're saying?
No, there would be on an expiration of a contract. There would be a requirement.
Oh, I thought you just said you wouldn't put out an RFP.
I am right now. I'm not proposing an RFP.
Okay.
I'm proposing an extension on the Hudson contract in exchange for investment.
Okay, but at some point then you might have it. Okay, I was just curious what the requirements were.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like you can't make it too much of a sweetheart.
No.
And I know I wasn't suggesting you were,
Yeah.
but they are investing $500,000, so that
And
says
more.
something about their love.
Yeah, and more. They've put in a lot of investment into the airport over time, which has amortized for them in the contract period.
So when you talk about like a visioning process for terminal improvements, that's a process where you're gonna say like, all right, what do we want this to look like? Passenger experience, revenue enhancement, how do we balance all that?
You got it.
That type of action. We'll be involved in that.
In some aspects, yeah. I mean, right now it's the initial conversation is what do we need? What are we trying to accomplish out of this from an operational standpoint? And a big piece of this is bringing those planes away from the taxiway, so we can optimize the space and get the flexibility that we need with the airlines. And then that quickly rotates into a conversation of when we do this, what does the passenger experience look like? How do you get from that new security checkpoint to that new space up north? Which includes that maximizing revenue or concession space and then the visual aspects, whether it's artwork to the what do we want to see with it? Do we want to have that consistency with the new terminal integration project throughout our entire terminal and this new building? A big part of the conversation too is, where does airport administration go? Part of this project does remove all of these office spaces in this hallway to maximize hold room space and seating space upstairs here, so that all of our passenger experience is on the second floor. That means airport administration would have to relocate. So part of this design right now includes the possibility of including it in this new building, and possibly even a public accessible portion of the building, like a green roof or an open air concept. So lots of new, fresh ideas into this building related to the financial plan as well, because not everything that we're proposing, we could reach for the stars and what we want. FAA might say that's not eligible for federal funding. So we have to be very cognizant as we go down this path. But at some point, I do want to kind of share the progress and the feel of what this building looks like. We're in, colored pencil schematics right now.
Is there an architect?
There is, yeah. So Jacobs Engineering was the selected architect on the project, and architect and engineer, but they have a very large architect division in their company, and they design airport terminals, which I think is really critical to how we look at today's need and 10+ years from now. So we're not in a situation where we are today.
How far down the road are you looking?
As far as we can. I mean, it's when we did our master plan, we looked at a 30-year projection of our operations. But honestly, even 10 years from now is going to look probably very different. So the projection or the terminal that we're trying to design is something that would allow the flexibility of the aircraft, whether it's getting smaller or bigger, which is where we struggle right now in our existing terminal, where the building was designed for small aircraft and didn't allow for the growth of the actual equipment to upgauge into the terminal that we have today. And that's why even the tip building was designed where it is, because all of that space today used to be ramp space, but no aircraft could fit in there any longer. So 2 gates were actually shut down over that time period to allow 1 concessions, but 2 they couldn't fit back there. So we're trying to maximize that space, maximize the height, literally height of where the floor space is, to get the proper ADA requirements, to get to some of the smallest aircraft on the market today and some of the largest. It's not easy because we don't know, or even vertical aircraft, takeoff and landing aircraft, or electric, or anything. And that's a big part of it, is sustainability. How are we going to build this building and supply the power that we need, and give the airlines what we want them to do, which is power their equipment with electricity versus diesel engines or anything like that, or diesel GPUs, anything like that. We want to make sure that we're designing that building for that type of use as well.
What airports around the country are state of the art at this point? Considered state of the art?
Yeah, so actually Larry, Dave and I are going to take a road trip. Portland, Maine just finished a brand new terminal building, and there's a lot of amazing features in that terminal that I'd like to see, both from an aesthetic standpoint and a sustainability and modern standpoint. They also just built a new geothermal facility to incorporate into that facility. And we really want to see what that looks like as we start building this out, inclusive of some of the typical things like solar and things like that.
They're recycling their glycol.
Even glycol recycling.
So-
The aircraft.
So,
Well, it's good to compare airports of similar size as well.
Yep.
It's more apples to apples.
Right.
And they get massive amounts of snow.
They
Right.
get, right, similar amounts of
Weather,
snow.
yeah.
I think we're actually on the same latitude as Portland, Maine. They are bigger, they're closer to
Portland,
Maine.
Maine or Portland, Oregon?
Maine.
Okay.
Yeah. Although Portland, Oregon was also on our list of kind of visionary
We have some cool
airports.
stuff.
Yeah,
Portland, Oregon.
it's so much bigger when you look at the
Yeah.
pictures of like a small hub airport or even a medium hub like Portland, Maine. And then the build out of a new terminal in Portland, Oregon. You can see there's money in Portland, Oregon. And even Portland, Maine went through a very, very different process of funding their terminal than we are going.
Then anybody ever looked at covering airports? Having covered parking for the airplanes?
I don't know. I've never heard of
I
it.
don't.
Just over the apron space
Yeah.
areas.
Airplane parks underneath overnight, doesn't need to get
DIs.
ice in the morning.
And you can have a solar array on
You
top.
could have a big solar array on top.
Yeah. The glycol companies would come after us.
I think like just step forward. One place we can minimize the volume,
Yeah,
you know, so that's,
Yeah,
that's,
the icing at the end of the runway.
yeah.
I don't know why airports haven't gone to that.
well, we actually on our master plan do have a holding bay design, not design, but.
Each design
planned
is
for
permitted.
it. Oh, yeah, it is designed as taxiway go, yeah. We couldn't get the funding for it, but it was designed at the end of taxiway to allow pull off and a centralized de-icing pad for departing aircraft on that side.
So as you vision out 30 years or even 10 years,
Yeah.
are you talking with pilots? And clearly you're talking with the airlines, but they may have a different
Viewpoint, right?
viewpoint, or you add some.
Yeah.
So they're
30
part.
years.
Well, even,
this travel
you
industry,
won't be
so-
flying in 30 years, but
Well, I'm just saying, another worldwide pandemic. Couple of volcanoes go off. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why you might have to throttle way back, or you might. Be able to throttle way up, so being flexible is
Right.
right.
And
key.
And the important part of this design, including when we finish both north and south, within the 10-year period of time. We're looking at just the north expansion right now, and hopefully within 7 or so years, we'll talk to you about the south expansion. Obviously, a lot of work between now and then. Is we're not necessarily looking at the need to add additional gates. So even in this north expansion in the south, we just need the flexibility of like I said, the size of an aircraft, but also the flexibility of where airlines park. Because right now it's so proprietary. It's so this is my space. I like to brand this space, and this is my airline, and this is where we
Do you
park.
charge different rent depending on if it's a good gate or a bad gate?
Nope, they're all good gates.
The interesting thing I've heard, I think, on our ramp is that, like, I saw 2 JetBlue planes here the other day at the same time, which should not happen, so it means obviously one was broke.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of extra parking for like an Embraer 170, so if 2
Well,
go
there
down,
is.
American and JetBlue.
We actually have 3 to 4 mainline aircraft overnight positions, along with the
Not on
12 to 15 that we have.
Not on the
Off of the terminal.
off the terminal.
Yeah, and that was that big, that was that big.
I thought one of them was taken up by snow.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Thought so.
This big airline has specifically for overnight parking. Snow is a whole nother ballgame on where we pile it and how high we can pile it and where it goes. Or-
Pretty soon you'll be able to sell it. You'll be able to sell it to Sugarbush and Concord.
Well, our snow,
Because it won't be-
I feel that's like a maple syrupy smell to it. Just called
Sneaky on it. They saved crop sprays last year.
Yeah, so as we design north and south for the size of aircraft, for the capacity of what that size means in the inside of the plane of the terminal building. I mean, how many seats do we need to accommodate up to 200 passengers on some of these planes? Right now, we have 321s coming in with about 220 passenger seats on board. But also the flexibility of a common use gate system. So if there's an available gate, you can go there and your computers will still match up. And that's the biggest hurdle right now is that's why they need their gate, because their computer system is connected to their hardware on the back end to connect to their corporate systems. So having that flexibility on that terminal, like I've been saying for some time, starting at that taxiway, bringing them in away from the taxiway, the size of aircraft parking on our gate positions, the size of the hold room space, which we do not have the appropriate sized hold room in each of our gate areas. It's far too tight, especially on the North Concourse right now, which then backs up into the TSA security capacity, which we've solved with this new building. But that then backs up into, if we process more passengers, how do we process more bags going outbound? And that hence the reason for some of the design work of the baggage claim. And then the same way coming back in, bags coming in. So it's an evolution of the terminal for sure, in the flexibility of making sure wherever the market goes, we're flexible.
If I could make a request, I'd really enjoy maybe hearing from the architects at a time that when you think it's appropriate. I mean, I don't want to be too early or too late, frankly. But just having this kind of conversation with that group, you know, they can certainly join remotely if they're not local.
Yeah.
It'd be valuable.
I think that's a great idea. Because like I said, we're talking about ideas right now, and this is probably the stage to do that.
Okay.
We don't want to get halfway through summer and say, it's not the design we want.
Okay.
Jeff, are you monitoring the chat? Just from a Zoom point of view, I sometimes put things in the chat and it didn't see anything.
No, it's a good question.
Very good. Okay.
It should pop right up.
Oh, it will. Okay, on your side. I didn't know if you disabled.
Okay. Anything else that can report?
That is it.
Okay. Okay, commissioner items. Any commissioners have anything we haven't brought up yet that's on your mind? Greg, Jim? All good? Great. Okay, follow-up items. I think we've addressed 9.01. Commission rules procedures. That can probably come off our follow-up items list. The overlay, obviously Tim isn't here. Anything anybody wants to say about that? Or should we?
So Anna's working with multiple consultants, taking maps from here and combining them. Last meeting, we had a conversation of overlaying kind of a heat map of where our actual radar tracks are onto the noise comment map. So you can actually see this is the majority of where flights go, and there might be some correlation with the comments. So we're trying to pull those pieces together with various programs and consultants. We should have that.
This is on the sound program too. It's good news today.
Yep, well, Larry was in a meeting earlier with our consultants regarding the,
Do I know?
So you're about this.
well,
He said it's good.
Larry, help me out if I'm not saying this correctly, but it sounds like there's the design phase for the 54 homes for that first round has been approved.
It's complete. It's going back to
Completed.
homeowners for their review.
Okay,
And once they've reviewed it, it comes back to us. And we'll go up and bid the next one. We'll
apply for the
apply
grants
for the
in
grant for
mid-April.
those 54 homes. And that grant will apply for the next 50 or 100, whatever, depending on how much he's coming in.
Haven't we received the grant for the 54 that are in the queue?
We received the grants to build the 16 for the pilot and the phase 1. We received the design money and outreach money for the 54, which takes us to bidding. So the design is done, going back to the homeowners to make sure they're happy with what they're gonna get.
And then you have
And
to,
then it goes to bid and we apply for a grant by April 15th for those 54 homes for construction. And another $1 million, look at the next homes and do what we're doing now with those 54.
okay,
And over and over.
and over
Needs to be
again.
done in priority order based on.
based on decibel levels, contour, geographic location within the contour lines and ratios between the towns.
So when you retire, you'll be able to say, this is the final application for.
If you bring the price down.
Maybe we'll replace them with something else.
Drones or something that are much quieter, yeah.
I would like to request one additional follow-up item. I received an email from you about taxi.
Oh, right.
We also received one from downtown. The commission does have the authority to raise the number of Q permits that are actually sold to taxi drivers. Q permits specifically meaning a permit to operate out of Burlington
Right.
Airport, pick up and drop off. Right now, I think we're capped at around 50 Q permits. That was set a couple of years ago. The quantity of drivers, especially during certain periods of time at the airport, are pretty slim. So I think we do need to increase that number of Q permits, which does allow small companies to purchase those Q permits. A permit, I believe, is, do you know what I think it's $500 per year. But that's something that we owe you as a little bit more research and what the authority is of the airport commission, and my request to increase that number to a certain point.
And the Ubers of the world, they don't get those permits. But
Correct.
so they have to be called. I mean, you can't go walk into an Uber because it's sitting there. You have to.
Yeah.
Right, so some airports have permission for Ubers to be already
Oh, right.
there.
We do have a contract. So any TNC operator or transportation network company which uses mobile application features to call or request or whatever, Uber, Lyft, the two companies that we have a separate contract with them that requires a $2 per charge. $2 per charge pickup and or drop off fee. So every time they come in here, they owe us $2. At the end of the month, they reconcile that with their data and their geotagged information.
So instead of having a queue thing that allows them, that's how you
That's
get
right.
that at airport.
That's
Like
more in the
airport.
line of 10 to 20,000 on the very high end
Annual
per month.
Nah,
per month.
Now,
You guys-
lately it's not that much. That's correct.
as much as 10,000 a month off of Uber.
That's correct.
That's
Oh, that's
5,000.
pick up and drop off.
$2 per
Per-
thing.
5,000 trips into the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either for a pickup or drop.
That's correct.
Wow.
The city of Burlington also has a similar deal. They do a quarter per pickup and drop off
In the city.
in the city. So there's
25 cents, is that what you mean?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
But we have.
Well, I think I think I know a quarter of the fare. Yeah.
25 cents. What's
All those-
Wow.
For the laundromat. But one of the issues that doesn't address that Ken brought up was the filth. I mean, he took a picture of this taxi. He's in the hospitality business, Jake Hannon. You know, some of the big hotels
Yeah.
downtown. And that's his business, it's hospitality, and he thought that the interior of this cab was really terrible. And
I
it
agree with the
cast
picture.
a, terrible impression, I guess,
Yeah.
of our community.
Mm.
So he wrote, and I shared it with Nick, and Tim got it. What could we do to say you have to have a clean car if you're gonna pick people up? I don't know how you do that, but
So, and that's where.
that's sort of related to the.
It is related, and that's also related to the city of Burlington's policies on permitting taxi cab companies in general. Because there is an inspection process and a permitting process for the city of Burlington, which they are required to have that permit prior to receiving a Q permit to operate at the airport. So we're working with the clerk treasurer's office on understanding exactly where the inspection criteria is, both on the car itself and the inside, the quality of the car, the meters that are required to be in the car. Every taxi cab is required to accept credit cards, not just cash. There's limitations on the cost, especially at the airport, of minimum service and minimum fees associated with it. So there's no price gouging allowed on some of these taxi, on all of these taxi drivers. We actually have a dedicated site, dedicated area on our website that outlines all of these requirements and gives every phone number of the cab companies that are allowed at this airport. And some of the requirements associated with inspection of it.
Yeah.
Do we have an ambassador that sort of manages the taxi area?
We do,
So-
we have two, really all the ambassadors, but two, now they're called ground transportation foremen.
Oh, ambassador is such a nicer name.
Well, the ambassadors are still ambassadors, but the
Oh.
two foremen are called ground transportation.
Oh, okay.
So they're sort of monitor, and do they actually look and see, all right, is this an approved taxi that's in the queue here?
And they have to have a physical
Yeah.
sticker on the car.
I mean, I'm wondering, maybe this is too far, going too far, but should they, poke their head in and just, if they see something,
Yeah.
a taxi that doesn't meet the standard in terms of cleanliness, just.
Yep. And we do that. We do that at just about every single day. Shelby was actually very good at doing that and training the team to do that. It's the overnights, or when we don't have an ambassador here, or the awkward hours or things like that, that can be difficult.
Is the Q permit given to the taxi company or to each individual car?
A vehicle. It's an actual permit. Vehicle.
Yeah.
Like a medallion in New York City?
Do we have a way to do, like, is there a place on our website or whatever that people visiting this airport can file a complaint of any kind and that gets wrapped up from somebody?
There is, yep, there's a link on our website for the complaint, which then goes to a department of the city of Burlington to investigate the complaint and go through.
But it doesn't go
the
directly
permit.
to you first.
No, it doesn't.
That's a shame.
No, it does not, because we don't regulate the taxis.
No, not the taxi. I mean, just anything on the airport, whether it was
Oh.
a taxi or, whatever they didn't like and their
Gotcha.
experience here at Burlington Airport would still go to the city, not the
No,
airport.
no.
It go to the
No.
airport.
Yeah, I thought you were talking just.
No.
taxis. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, that's interesting.
And at one point, the airport commission was involved with the taxi board with the city of Burlington.
Right. Way back, they were, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Munger and Bill Keogh
Bill
were
Keogh,
They were the taxi
always on
board.
that.
I think
We're the taxi board. That's right. Look at that.
they were.
And there's not,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't know if there is a board right now.
Yeah, I think it was.
Dissolved, and now the
No one wanted
transportation,
to serve.
now the two committee of the Transportation, Energy and Utility Commission, which is a subset of the Burlington City Council is responsible for taxis.
Well, for a while, the late night taxis had become just absolutely awful, and I take them fairly often. So you switch to Uber, and then Uber price checks after midnight to come to the airport. And so now you're better off back with the taxis again, because the taxi will charge you $21 to get to, North Avenue in Burlington. Uber will charge you 57 at midnight, and now you don't have any control over the gouging of Uber. So it's interesting, because for a while the taxis were like, not getting, and those are all shaky and sketchy, and now they're all nice again. Maybe it's better for the competition.
Okay, so follow-up items, we're taking off commission rules and procedures, we're leaving on the overlay. Do we want to add this taxi issue to
Yeah.
further conversation?
I did.
To get an update.
And can you also put on this, I don't know when it will come up on our formal agenda, but the architect visit as well as a follow-up item?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else anybody wants to add? Greg, Jim? anybody? Okay, all right, executive session, so I will accept a motion for us to go into executive session.
To executive session for the purpose of receiving updates on labor relations agreements with employees with, who's gonna be here? Nick
Me and the staff that is here today.
and the staff that. is
You have to
here.
change the
The
Zoom.
entire staff?
I think you have to
Yeah.
change the Zoom.
Correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, we sent out the executive session link to the commissioners.
Okay,
So just to let the
So-
ones on Zoom know that we will be leaving this meeting and going into the executive session.
Greg, do you and Jim both have that link?
We do, just a point of procedure. I second Helen's motion to go into
you.
executive session.
All right, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Are we going to come back? Will we be taking any action?
You're not taking.
No
any
action, but we will come
You'll come
back
to adjourn.
to adjourn. So the public doesn't.
okay, so
You know, we just.
Jim, Greg, just switch.
See you on the other link.